Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. The issue of Mnangagwa must go continues to occupy the nation's attention, and rightly so, too. There is no denying that this Zanu PF regime has failed the people of Zimbabwe. What concerns me today, however, is how some people have again and again exploited the people suffering to advance their own agenda. How many times have we had politicians mobilizing the people in the name of justice, the Commonwealth, etc., etc.? And yet, when the fighting is done, they quickly move in, push the povo aside, and they claim for themselves a lion's share of the spoils. And they forget about the people completely. No one would object or disagree with Comrade Blessed Geza and his four amigos and his four fellow war veterans, making the five amigos, that Mnangagwa's regime is corrupt and incompetent and it must go. However, what we, the people, have got to be aware of is that the war veterans, Geza, and the rest of the war veterans, some of them have been now divided into two factions, one supporting Mnangagwa and the other one supporting Geza and his friends. They are the ones who imposed Mnangagwa on the nation. And before him, Robert Mugabe. And now they are tired of Mnangagwa. They want him booted out. And so they turn around to the people and pretend this is a common cause. We must all join in, evoking ancestral spirits, justice, commonwealth, common interests. And yet we also know that Comrade Geza, for instance, is angry with Mnangagwa because he accuses the regime of taking away his farm. Interestingly enough, during Jambanja, when the war veterans and the regime were seizing the former white-owned farms, the people were mobilized to go and invade these farms. And they did. But as soon as the farm is secure, the regime would walk in, the chefs would walk in, boot out all the povo from the farm, they will take over the farm themselves. And we know that some of these ruling elite have got multiple farms. The Mugabes alone are reckoned to have 16 farms for Mugabe and his wife, and their first-born daughter is as many as 21 farms. And Mnangagwa has since given them title deeds to these farms. And yet the same regime is stubbornly refusing to give people in the rural areas even title deeds to about 20 square meters or so of the yard. This has been a sole issue. Before independence, the white regime of Ian Smith was told, was advised that giving the rural people title deeds to even the yard, just the yard alone, would motivate them to look after that land, to build themselves a decent homestead, instead of these traditional mud thatched huts. They'll grow fruit trees, improve that yard, and give it value. And yet Ian Smith refused to do that. Why? Well, his argument was, if we give the blacks title deeds to the land, we are economically empowering them. And once you've economically empowered them, the next thing they would want is political empowerment. And the regime was not prepared to give the blacks a meaningful vote. Ironically, Mugabe was given the same advice from the same economist and banker, John Robertson, soon after independence. And he too rejected it for exactly the same reasons. There is no denying that Zanu PF is deliberately keeping the rural people poor for its own political ends. Here is Margaret Dongo talking to that very issue.
They have wrong priorities, especially the current government. How can you go and build an airport which services a few people, and the majority are the elite and the so-called investors? Look at the rural. I made you come to interview me because I wanted you to have the experience of the roads that we are using. If we go today to our hospital there, you feel pity with that's a hospital in a rural area. If we go to our clinic, you feel pity. We have no piped water here. Do you know the reason why the rural people vote for Zanu PF? One, they're intimidated. Two, the policy is that the rural people should remain poor and subservient to the government. They should remain poor, because if they remain poor, they continue singing the song for their master. This is why these people have been impoverished. It's for a reason. Because at the moment, if you economically empower these people, they'll go out of hand. Zanu PF will never have control over them.
So I'll reiterate what I said before, or rather, what Comrade Blessed Geza said himself. He wants Mnangagwa to go, yes, because his economic policies have affected the ordinary people. But there is another reason why. Mnangagwa has taken away his farm. And so this is not just a call to end Mnangagwa's dictatorial rule, but more to make sure that he secures what he has lost, his farm. It's just another jambanja, call to mobilization, in which as soon as Mnangagwa is putted out and he has got his farm, our friend will forget the ordinary people. We'll be back where we started. And this is what is so annoying about our situation. Here is one of the 5 amigos promising that the signal from Geza is coming.
Good afternoon to you all. In the mighty name of God, in the name of the spirit of this country, our ancestors, our forefathers, the real owners of this land, let me assure you that the liberating signal from Comrade Geza is coming very soon. Kumanya kuzikufika. As you will appreciate, this is a mammoth task because this is a people's project. It's not an individual's project. Organization and the sufficient managerial competence to manage the public is essential. As a mammoth task, it means the planning and the execution and the management of the aftermath must be very meticulous so that we have the best results at minimal costs. A good soldier, a good commander, is the one who wins a war with a minimum loss. But the best commander is the one who wins a war without firing a bullet. This is precisely the philosophy of managing mass organizations and mass demonstrations, whilst you are in the belly of the beast, which has deployed its dogs of war, hit squads, ferret teams, specially trained in Belarus, to hit, not to arrest.
Well, we can stop there. We have heard of these sorry about that. We have heard of these wars. You can go back to 1980, the War of Liberation. A lot of sacrifices were made by many. But now, 45 years after independence, the majority of ordinary Zimbabweans there do not even have a meaningful vote. The majority, in fact, all the people in the rural areas, what will matter to them the most is title deeds. They are not asking for thousands of hectares of land. They just want title deeds to the 20 or so square meters of yard on which their mud hut stands. And 45 years after independence, this is still being denied. And now we are being mobilized to fight to remove a dictator, whom the same people who are asking us who are mobilizing us right now are the ones who imposed him on the nation. I think the message we should send is Geza revolution people is simple. We really want an end to this vicious cycle of fighting for the same rights, and when victory is secured, the same rights, same freedoms are denied. And the ruling elite share the spoils among themselves. And next time they mobilize us in the same or fighting for the same rights and the same justice, etc., etc. Only to know that at the end of the day, we'll not get them. The message we have got to send, therefore, to Comrade Geza and his friends is your jambanja signal can wait. First, tell us what is it in this fight for the ordinary people. Are the ordinary people going to have a meaningful vote at the end of the day? Are the povo in the rural areas going to have title deeds to the yard on which their mud hut stand? Those are the things that matter to the ordinary people. Don't expect us to answer your jambanja call so that you could fight and get back your big farm. We answered that jambanja call before. You got the farm and you forgot about the people. We cannot keep repeating the same mistake over and over again. The 2017 military coup, Mnangagwa promised free, fair, and credible elections. He did not deliver that. And the war veterans helped him rig elections, just as they helped Mugabe rig elections in the past. We also know that this so-called Geza revolution, the one thing they want to deliver is to have VP Chiwenga as president. VP Chiwenga's history is well known to every Zimbabwean. He is no different from Mugabe, Mnangagwa, or any of the other Zanu PF thugs. he has taken his part, played his part in the last 45 years in the creation and retention of this Zanu PF one-party state. We are not going to answer a jambanja call to replace one dictator with another. That is the one thing that the people of Zimbabwe must resist. If you're going to fight your jambanja call to replace one dictator with another, do it on your own. Don't use other people. Don't use povo. Don't pretend you care about povo when you never did. So in short, Geza's jambanja call is not going to be answered by povo until we have clearly defined goals of how the people's rights are going to be secured. This idea that we must assume that Chiwenga will deliver all our rights and we will live happily ever after is nonsense. After 45 years of being shortchanged, only a fool will believe that. So I repeat, forget your jambanja call. Tell us first, how are you going to make sure that this time the ordinary people's rights and freedoms are delivered? Thank you.